Raw kicked off with a recap of Roman Reigns attacking Brock Lesnar after his match this past weekend at Madison Square Garden. We saw Lesnar almost attack Paul Heyman after taking out Reigns, but the Universal Champion managed to take him out with a steel chair. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins kicked things off in the ring and talked about going to WrestleMania together, even though Owens hates Texas now. Rollins rolled out footage of their previous wins as a tag team before Alpha Academy, and then RK-Bro came out for the following match. WWE Raw results: Alpha Academy vs. RK-Bro vs. Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, Raw Tag Team Championship match. Chad Gable was sent out of the ring right off the bat, and Rollins and Riddle continued the match in the ring. KO was tagged in early for a double team before Kevin Owens got a near fall. Gable was back in and Rollins came back in for a double team before he hit a springboard crossbody on both Gable and Riddle. After a break on Raw, Otis was in the ring and tossed Rollins and KO out before stomping on Riddle and hitting a senton. The original Bro was isolated by Otis in the ring and managed to roll out of the way of a splash before getting the tag to Randy Orton. He cleared the ring and hit double draping DDTs on Rollins and Gable. Gable blocked the RKO but was sent outside. Orton got the RKO on Rollins, but KO dragged the Viper out of the ring before he could get the pin. Orton took out Owens and helped Riddle hit Otis with a double powerbomb on the announce desk. After another break, Riddle got the floating Bro, but Owens broke up the pin again. Otis got the Tower of Doom with Rollins and KO in the middle and Gable at the top. Riddle had a hold locked in on Rollins and Gable hit a dive on them. Chad Gable cleared the ring and set up Riddle for the finisher, but Randy Orton came in and got the RKO in midair. Rollins and Owens came in with super kicks on Orton and Otis before Rollins hit the stomp on Gable. Riddle came in at the last second and clutched the win after sending Rollins over the ropes and getting the pin. Result: RK-Bro def Alpha Academy, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens to become the new Raw Tag Team Champions. After the match, Rollins walked out like he had seen a ghost while Owens sat down at ringside. RK-Bro celebrated their win as Owens got up and left as well. Grade: a Dana Brooke vs. Tamina 24/7 Championship match on Raw. Tamina unloaded on Dana Brooke as the match began and locked in a Boston Crab. Brooke reversed the hold into a pin and got the quick win. Result: Dana Brooke def Tamina to retain the 24/7 Championship. After the match, Akira Tozawa said that Tamina was the love of his life and she blew him a kiss before walking out of the ring. Grade: see, The Miz was out next on Raw and called out Logan Paul, another Cleveland native, to join him. Paul talked about how much he loved the city before The Miz started talking about the Mysterio. Jerry Lawler was out next, a local WWE legend, and said that they should host WrestleMania in Cleveland. The Miz disagreed and got some heat from the crowd by dissing his own hometown. Logan Paul and the A-lister walked out before the show continued. Braun Breaker and Tommaso were on Raw to face the Dirty Dogs next. Braun Breaker and Tommaso versus the Dirty Dogs on Raw. Breaker and Robert Roode kicked things off and the NXT champion got a big vertical suplex on the veteran before tagging Ciampa. Dolph Ziggler ran a distraction and it let Roode hit a spinebuster on Tommaso. After a break on Raw, the Dirty Dogs isolated Ciampa in the ring and beat him up before he was able to make the tag. Breaker came in and took a superkick before wiping Ziggler out with a clothesline. Ziggler got a stunner before getting a near fall on Breaker. The latter lifted Ziggler above his head and hit the Gorilla Press Power Slam for the win. Result: Braun Breaker and Tommaso def the Dirty Dogs. Omos vs. Apollo Crews on Raw. Omos locked in a submission hold before staring Commander Aziz down. He tossed Apollo Crews outside before tossing him back in the ring and into the corner. Crews dodged the splash and got a kick but was hit with the double-handed chokeslam for the win. Result: Omos def Apollo Crews. After the match, Aziz and Omos got face-to-face before the latter turned around and left. Grade: C. Edge was out next on Raw and walked out to complete silence. He said that he needed AJ Styles to be at his best and hoped that he ensured that last week. Edge said that he unlocked a side of him that can control what happens in the ring and said that he was omnipotent before dropping the mic. Kevin Owens was backstage on Raw and said that he had an idea that was going to change his WrestleMania future. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega and Carmella on Raw. Carmella and Liv Morgan kicked off the match and Rhea Ripley came in early on and wiped Morgan out. Zelina Vega was tagged in and managed to reverse a slam before sending Ripley outside. Outside the ring, Morgan sent Ripley into the steel steps before we headed for a break. Back on Raw, Carmella was in the ring and took a big kick before Morgan tagged in and got some big dropkicks. Vega was legal but tried to make the tag, but Carmella was busy flirting with Corey Graves at ringside. Rhea Ripley tagged in and hit the Riptide for the win. Result: Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan def Zelina Vega and Carmella. Grade: B. Finn Balor vs. Austin Theory on Raw. Finn Balor went after Austin Theory as the match began and hit a big sunset flip. Balor dodged the ATL before getting a big stomp on the apron. He took an elbow in the neckbreaker finisher but managed to break the pin. Balor got the big dropkick in the corner and set up for the finish, but Damian Priest caught him by the throat and dropped him from the top rope. Priest hit the razor's edge on Balor and wiped him out before Austin walked back in the ring for a selfie. Result, DNF. Great. Kevin Owens was out next on Raw and said that he wanted his WrestleMania moment. He thought about inviting JBL, HBK, or Booker T for a WrestleMania special KO show, but he decided on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He called out the WWE legend and said that he will take Austin out with a stunner before the show went off the air. Episode rating: B. We got the new Raw Tag Team Champions tonight while Finn Balor was taken out by a former US champion. We got an appearance from the NXT champion as well as Logan Paul and Jerry Lawler on tonight's episode of The Red Brand.